Assalamu alaikum, dear students. It is 15th of July 2020. I am your teacher Abdurrashid Mir, posted at Primary School Pandit Forazon Lingate. Yesterday we read an interesting story, Birbal's Wit. And yesterday we completed the reading of the story, and today we are going to discuss the story, its meaning, try to comprehend it, try to understand it. So, my dear students, we are on page number 51. Listen to me once again. Akbar was a king of India. Akbar was a king of India. Who was Akbar? Akbar was a king of India. He was known as Akbar the Great. So Akbar was known as Akbar the Great. In Urdu we can say Akbar-i Azam. So people called him, or he was famous as Akbar the Great. He had many ministers in his court, and Birbal was one of them. अकबर जो था, इसके बहुत मिनिस्टर्स थे. इसके कोर्ट में बहुत से मिनिस्टर्स थे जो मुख्तलिफ जिम्मेदारियां लिए हुए थे, और उन्हीं में से एक मिनिस्टर था जिसका नाम था बीरबल. So who was Birbal? Birbal was one of the ministers of Akbar, or we can say Birbal was one of the ministers in Akbar's court. Birbal was known for his wit. So this Birbal, he was a unique personality. He was very wise. He was very intelligent. He was very witty. So who was Birbal? Birbal was one of the ministers in Akbar's court, and Birbal was very intelligent. He was very wise. One day, Akbar drew a line on the floor and asked the ministers in his royal court to make this line shorter without rubbing it. So what did Akbar do one day? One day, Akbar, he drew a line on the floor of his room. He drew a line and asked his ministers, you have to make this line shorter, but without erasing it, without rubbing it. So this was a puzzle, a riddle rather, that was put by Akbar to his ministers. Oh, my ministers, make this line, the line I have drawn on the floor, make it shorter. But you have not to erase any portion of the line. तो अकबर ने क्या किया? इसने फ्लोर पर एक लाइन खींची और अपने मिनिस्टर से कहा कि आपको ये लाइन जो है इसको छोटा करना है, शॉर्टर, मगर शर्त यह है कि आपको इस लाइन का कोई भी हिस्सा, कुछ भी नहीं, इसको इरेज करना है, मिटाना है. मिटाने के बगैर ही आपको इसको शॉर्ट करना है, छोटा करना है. The ministers started talking to one another. They were confused. So what did ministers do? They started talking to each other. How can we make this line shorter? This is a very tough question, very hard question Akbar has put for us. So they were confused. They did not know how to make this line shorter without erasing it, without rubbing it, every minister was given a chance to do what the king had ordered. So every minister was chanced. He was given the chance, he was given the opportunity to make this line shorter, to obey the order, to act upon the order. हर एक मिनिस्टर को कहा गया कि हर एक मिनिस्टर को एक मौका दिया गया कि आपको इस लाइन को शॉर्टर करना है, छोटा करना है, तो इसके लिए आपको कुछ भी करना पड़े तो ये आपको करना ही है. तो एक ऑर्डर था बादशाह की तरफ से, तो हर मिनिस्टर को ये करना था. इनको ये हुक्म मिला कि आप इसको करके दिखाएं. No one could think of how to do it. So the ministers were not in a position, or they were not able to do it. They were confused. They were in difficulty. It was very difficult for them to get it done, to do it. But Birbal went near the lion and smiled. So one of the ministers in Akbar's court was Birbal, as you know. He went near the lion and smiled. All the ministers were sad. They were confused because they were in a confused situation. They were in a difficulty. But one minister, whose name was Birbal, he was smiling. There was a smile on his face. He drew a longer line besides the first one. So what Birbal do? What did Birbal do? He went near the lion. He did not touch the line drawn by the king, drawn by Akbar. He kept that line aside. He drew another line, but that another line was longer than the line drawn by Akbar. He did not touch the first line. Everyone in the court was surprised and sad. So all the ministers present in the court were surprised. They were puzzled. That's wonderful. So all of them, all the ministers said in one voice, "Oh, Birbal, you have done it. That's wonderful. The first line is shorter now. So by drawing the longer line besides the shorter line, by drawing the longer line beside the shorter line, made the line drawn by Akbar shorter than the line drawn by Birbal." So this was Birbal's wit. This was Birbal's intelligence. This was Birbal's wisdom that made it possible. So my dear students, today we try to understand the story, comprehend it, and tomorrow we will inshallah proceed further. Till then, Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh.